Hey guys, Drakos here. Sorry it's been so long since I put out content on this channel. I have been fully enjoying my off time post-Worlds after I got done with the group stages in Wuhan. And don't worry, this channel will start to be more and more active as we get closer and closer to EULCS. And there is more and more to talk about in the year of 2018. There will be more League of Legends content soon. But today I want to talk a little bit about something that I've been playing a lot in my off time. And that is, no surprises based on the title, Destiny 2. Of course, if you have not played the game or you're interested in the Destiny series and you do not want any spoilers, you should probably stop watching here because there definitely will be some. Now, as a Destiny player, I put a lot of hours into this game across both titles. I bought Destiny 1 on release for PS4. I played a ton of it. I went through all the raids, all the content, pretty much played everything, grinded among them all. And coming into Destiny 2, I did not play on the console release. I was in Worlds at the time, but I did come back just in time for the PC release to come out, and I have been playing it since. And so a lot of this is my thoughts based on the PC version, based on playing for the last 2 weeks and putting plenty of hours into it. Trust me. All right, and here's the overall thing that I want people to take away from this, is that I'm going to say a lot of negative stuff about Destiny 2, but it is not a horrible game. It is, however, very disappointing. And one of the big things here that started this off for me is the lack of new content. Now, coming into the game, there is a new campaign, similar to the Destiny 1 campaign and the expansion pack campaigns, though it's not a lot of meat there. And there's so many different ways to add content into Destiny now. Of course, there's still 5 races in the game. You've got the Vex, the Fallen, the Cabal, the Hive, the Taken. I don't expect them to add new races, and I don't think that's the right way to do it. But these races also don't really have new units added. There's not really a whole lot of anything special there, and there's not really a lot of diverse gameplay experience. Destiny remains a game where you find a vital point and you shoot, and for 80% of the enemies in the game, that's their face. Shoot them in the face. Classic shooter, right? But maybe we could get a little bit more. You've got Centurions in the game where you have to shoot their shield and then shoot their head. Basically just a straight port over of the Halo experience. It is Bungie obviously making the game that you got with Jackals. But there's not a whole lot there that is really challenging or really stimulating in terms of basic enemy fights. And a lot of that is that you're perpetually equipped with fantastic gear. It makes every firefight relatively easy. And if we do another comparison to Halo, one enemy type that I think did a really good job of this is the Hunter from the original Halo, right? Where you had limited weak points to shoot. You had to get around him. Yes, if you had a rocket launcher with full ammo, it wasn't a big deal. But if you were trying to go in there with an assault rifle, if you were trying to go in there with, a shotgun, and you had to get up close and personal, it was incredibly difficult. And when you figured it out and when you got good at it, it was incredibly satisfying. And for me, there doesn't really feel like there's any enemy in Destiny that does that. There's not anything in the game as an opponent that has a steep enough learning curve that you feel really rewarded for taking the time to figure out how to beat it in the most effective way possible. Now, aside from that, I mentioned the early campaign earlier. The other issue I have is that there's not a whole ton of depth when it comes to story. Now, you could make the same argument for Halo, once again, drawing a lot of comparisons here because it is yet another Bungie title, and it's very similar in a lot of what it's trying to accomplish. Humanity's last stand, humanity's the underdogs, coming up to survive, right? In this case, we have magic powers, and we don't really see that many other human beings outside of the people that are on the servers we play on. Now, the new story is a big issue for me because it is the generic Destiny story where they take the environments that you're already in, add 1 or 2 new things, and they call that a campaign, right? And that's fine. That's kind of the MMO standard for the most part. The issue for me is that a lot of the writing and the storytelling is just so underwhelming. In the first mission, for those of you who played the beta or those of you who have just started the campaign, the thing that was quintessential for me in terms of how this game is written and the approach that they took to the story is there's this line where they're talking about the Red Legion, who are the primary opponent that you face in the story campaign. They're an elite sect of the Cabal, right? And you've got someone feeding you an intel, and it's like, oh God, what intel do we have? What intel do we have? And the information that they give you is, they say, oh, the Red Legion, they've never known defeat. And that, from that moment, I played it in the beta, and it tilted me so much, right? Because it took me out of the gameplay experience so completely. Because in what world is, hey, I need information on my opponent to beat them? In what world is, yeah, they're undefeated. What is that good information, 1? And 2, what does that tell me about them as a player in the game? oh, the Red Legion are super scary, guys. They've never been defeated. Why? Why have they never been defeated? Do they use brutal tactics? Are they incredibly smart tactically? Do they have overwhelming numbers? Like, give me some information. Set me up. What am I going to be fighting here? Nope, they've never been defeated. But we do spend the rest of the game literally whooping their ass with basic weapons for the rest of the game, right? And that disconnect is just immediately jarring for me. And I really hate it when games pull you out like that. And then the other thing this ties into is because we spend all of the game winning, and everyone who spends all the game spends all of the game winning, or respawning, repeatedly dying over and over again and eventually winning, how is humanity losing? Right? If each of us playing this game is killing hundreds of people by ourselves, how is humanity losing? Now you can make arguments that there's other stuff happening, that there's other battles going on, but we don't really get to be a part of that. Now once again, drawing back to Halo, Master Chief won all the time too, so why is it an issue here? Well, in Halo, we had to watch human Marines die, we watched humanity lose battles even if Master Chief was winning skirmishes, and we don't really get any sense of that here. There's nothing contextually to put us into this world where this is humanity's last stand, outside of the fact that every once in a while a character reminds us, hey guys, this is humanity's last stand. Be aware. Go back to killing everything effortlessly and with very little effort. I guess that's redundant, but here you go. Here's humanity's last stand. And that was in general a disappointing thing about mechanic, and it rounds out in this game with, we figured out what the villain ultimately wants. He's trying to take light. Light is the resource which allows you to respawn one, which is really weird that they took the time to explain a respawn mechanic. That kind of irritated me, because it's like, all right, well, I guess we're all immortal. And the other thing is, it's how you get your magic class powers. Now, the villain's goal in this game is like to be deemed worthy of this light, and ultimately he gets it, he steals it, he takes it away, and he is the big final boss fight. And so, one, he doesn't get a respawn at all. He tries to, and suddenly the Traveler overpowers him in like the cliche movie entrance, movie ending where like the hero finds it himself to save the day. In this case, it's the Traveler. Oh my god, suddenly he's all powerful despite the fact that he couldn't do anything for 90% of the game. That's frustrating. But then we fight this guy, and he like has a bastardized version of our powers, and we run around in circles and shoot him in the head 30 or 40 times with no actual interactive mechanics outside of shooting him in the head. And so that pisses me off. It's like, why is this guy so attached to this light power at all? Because at the end of the day, if I could give up from playing the game, right, if I could give up the Guardian powers for a rocket launcher with like 6 extra rounds, I would in a heartbeat. Like, they're not good. They're okay. They're fine. Situationally, they can be good. Even in multiplayer, a rocket launcher is a stronger thing. And so to have someone covet this power that we have when this power feels so underwhelming in the game is kind of dumb to me. And it's just that lack of consistency across the board in terms of what you're telling us is good versus how it's being showed to us is good. And that kind of leads into the biggest thing for me, which is just lack of depth across the game. Once again, in the story, what is the motivation behind my enemies? They're very briefly introduced here. They're definitely introduced more in depth than Destiny 1, but if you're just coming into the series, you have no idea who most of these people are. They get nice little cheesy one-liners at the start to explain what exactly they're doing. And what are the classes, right? What is the explanation behind the classes? Where do these classes come from? And why are these the 3 elements? There's like zero history or backstory in this world, and what little was there in Destiny 1 has since been taken out and dumbed down. And I could get over that. I could get over the story. I could get over the lack of depth and all of the narrative content if there was more meaningful decision making in game. Because once again, it all comes back to, can you headshot a dude? Can you hide at the appropriate time? Yes, you're a great Destiny 2 player. Congratulations, you did it. You're the best at Destiny. There might be other people in PvP that can beat you, but for PvE, you got everything figured out. Because let's talk about skill trees. They don't mean anything. They mean literally nothing. They affect a melee ability, a grenade, and a super that you get once a minute. 90% of your gameplay is still shooting people in the head. And even then, within the context of these skill trees, the decisions you make are so small, so minor in terms of impact. And it goes back to that every fight feeling the same way. And worse than that, exotics, which is the other big thing. And if we want to draw a comparison to Diablo, which is another action RPG sort of game that I would say is very stylistically similar to Destiny in terms of the actual core content, which is just grinding for gear and finding that sense of progression. Like in Diablo, you have these sets where it completely changes and forces you into a very unique play style, right? In this case, through skills. But here, every exotic is like pretty underwhelming. It's very small things. Your radar is up when you're zooming in. You move slightly faster. One of them gives you our Karma's gauntlets, gives you an extended duration on basically a mine. And it's at no point in the game are you encouraged to play any kind of play style that sets you up to like lay down mines and bait traps for people. But that's an exotic in the game, and that's taking up a slot for what would be a set item or a legendary item in Diablo. It's just really odd to me. At the end of the day, though, these things don't take away from the core Destiny experience. If you liked Destiny 1, if you like these games that are repetitive, sure, but these grind fests where you get this nice little feeling every time you get a new piece of gear, and ultimately you're not worried about having a really difficult game, you want something just super easy and simple that you can just kill a ton of dudes and feel good about yourself, Destiny's a great game for you. But if you want the full experience, you have to put in the money to buy the expansion packs. That's a $100 investment, and personally, I just do not feel like it's worth it. If I could go back, I probably would not buy this game. It has been enjoyable a few times along the road, but overall, it's a big disappointment, and it feels like Destiny has done so much less with this game than they could have.